This show made possible by Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
Hi everyone, welcome to New American Youth Ballet. I brought the crew with me today. I'm Elizabeth Flores, my daughter Camila, my son Miguel Flores, and we are going to be having a very special guest coming up soon, Peter Reynolds. And we actually met him we did a ballet. He illustrated this beautiful book, Someday. Allison McGee and Peter Reynolds allowed me to do a ballet based on this lovely book. And so we actually visited his Blue Bunny bookstore and got a chance to meet him and to hear about his fabulous books that he's written and illustrated. And so we're excited to visit him and hear all about his journey and his work with Fablevision and his brother and all these things he has coming on. Hi, Peter, how are you?
Doing well. Hello, everybody.
I think they saw you, gosh, it was like 2016, I think. We visited the store. A lot has happened since.
A lot has happened. I know. I've grown a beard, and I have a 10-year-old son, so this is, I think, part of why I've gone completely silver. And of course, this past year has been quite challenging.
Yes.
Right, but when the going gets tough, the creative get going. So I'm super excited to connect with you guys.
And that's funny. That was my first question for you. Was this pandemic you as an artist?
Yeah. Well, as an artist, I mean, of course, artists, we reflect what we are thinking and feeling and dreaming. And I think that the pandemic just turned all of those things upside down. The things that we were thinking of on March 11th got, almost disappeared. Yeah. And what we were feeling was completely brand new feelings. And it took a while just to even sort out, what were those feelings so that you could even write them down or draw them down or dance them out. I must say that in mid-April, in May, it was just a week after losing a very dear friend. And I needed the universe to help me. And Barack Obama and Michelle Obama chose my book, The Word Collector, to read as part of the read aloud with the Chicago Public Library. Wow. I didn't know that was happening. I had heard that they needed the Obama Foundation had requested use of some artwork of mine. And I'm like, sounds good. Did not know that they would go live and would read together.
Wow.
The Word Collector. So if anyone's listening, check that out on YouTube. It's a beautiful reading, and it's what my heart needed.
I love that book, and it's inspiring because sometimes adults, kids, we get stuck using the same words over and over, and it really, it's like all the words are scattered all over, and he's looking for the perfect word.
Yeah.
Did that come about? I remember hearing, was it when you were in 4th grade, you wrote a piece and your teacher picked out the word, was it ancient?
Wow, very good research, yes. Teacher called me up to the desk and said he had circled the word, and I thought maybe I spelled it wrong. And he said, where did you learn the word ancient? And I'm thinking, well, actually, I don't. And that was the first moment I'm thinking, well, where do you get these words? Why are they in your brain? And of course, you hear them and you read them, right? And of course, when you read books that are above grade level, which I strongly recommend, yes. My sister Jane would read us. She was 5 years older than us. So yes. She was in junior high school, while Paul and I were in elementary school. And she would read us Charles Dickens and Shakespeare, and of course the vocabulary was like over here, but these words, some of them made sense. And so anyway, I used the word ancient, and I was so pleased that my teacher sort of saw that and said, wow, that's a really cool word. And that really, I think, was transformational for me. And I thought, I'm gonna start looking for really good words. I'm gonna use cool words, and I became a word collector.
That's tremendous. And did you always know this was kind of your destiny? A lot of people spend their life looking for their thing. People don't always find it and get clicked into it. It seems like you have the perfect life for your talents, your imagination. Everything is working towards what you're meant to do. Did you always know that? Was it a journey? Did hard times come that led you to where you are now?
I think I probably just always knew it. I mean, I was one of the lucky people whose North Star, I call it your North Star, or your North Star constellation, right? Because your dreams are complicated. It's not just one thing, right? It's a collection of things. And sometimes people's gifts, right? That is the life's journey is there to expose you to all of these experiences and people and books, and you start getting clues about who you are, which, by the way, I think is the most powerful question that we can ask kids and grown-up kids too, is who are you?
Yes.
And right, schools need to do that more often, and because frankly, it's the most important thing, right? And the most interesting thing, right?
Person. Not everybody learns this, do we?
Absolutely not. And by the way, I'm a twin, and so I don't know if we have any twins in our audience. Yes, I was born with my best friend, and it turns out that we love a lot of the same things. He loves to draw too, but his drawings are very detailed. He does almost photorealistic artwork, and it might take him, 2 months to finish a drawing, whereas I like drawing fast. That's my style. So I think very early on, I think Paul and I were very interested in what does it mean to be an original, right? Because people would call us, they're like, oh, you're identical twins. You're identical. And it's like, no, we're not identical. I am Peter and that is Paul. But as it turns out, we share the same mission. So if you were going to, by the way, we highly recommend being twins. So if you don't have a twin,
we'll work on that.
find your twin. So Paul actually works with me at Fablevision Studios, which is our interactive multimedia studios. We were located in Boston before the pandemic, and now we're remote and sprinkled all over the place, but we are working together seamlessly almost 24/7. We have artists and animators and writers, educators creating positive media to change the world, make it a better place. So that's my other hat. I have a couple of different hats. So I have started Fablevision.
Yeah.
I create picture books, and I also have we have a family bookstore in Dedham, Massachusetts called the Blue Bunny.
We love it there. We had such
That's right. You came to visit.
You can sit down and have a latte and look through, the books. And tell me a little bit more about how Fablevision came about.
Fablevision came about 1996, I believe. I had just finished up 12 years working with an extraordinary teacher named Thomas Snyder, not the talk show host. Some people remember the talk show host, but this Tom Snyder worked as a teacher at Shady Hill School in Cambridge. And he was just one of those amazing, extraordinary teachers who think outside of their box and loves their kids and will do anything to help them love learning, not just get through the textbook, but love learning and give them lifelong skills. So I was blessed that I got to meet Tom right out of college, and I helped him start his company, which was an educational software company, one of the first of its kind. And 12 years later, it had grown to 60 people. And I decided to follow my North Star and work with my twin brother and start Fablevision, which originally was an animation studio and then became interactive as things got more and more interactive in the world. And now it's a blend, and it is a blend because I think that people, there are so many ways to learn, and certainly online is awesome, right? Video games are great, but books are great too.
Yes.
And we love analog. We love real things that you can, like pencils and pens, and books. We love the book, and we still think that books are really one of the most powerful technologies for sharing information and inspiration. So it's a blend. It's a blend of all of those things. So Fablevision is celebrating 25 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And we work with Jim Henson Productions and PBS and Smithsonian. I mean, the list goes on and on. Check out fablevision.com, Fable like Aesop's Fables, and see all the cool people we're working with. We're basically working with anybody who is trying to move the world forward in creative ways. We are there. And we have such a great staff. We have, I think, 35 full-time people. And I love that our company can keep that many creative human beings employed, right, doing creative things. I mean, that's one of the challenges being artistic, right, is to get someone to fund you, right? So we've been really blessed.
That's probably taken on even a bigger mission now. I've seen a lot of young students get rather depressed, right? As everything, you're so right, everything can be wonderful online, but up to a point you need something that you can dig into.
Yes. I mean, my son, Henry, he had to do the remote thing, and it was very difficult, and it really underscored the power of human connectivity that nothing replaces being with a caring human being who cares about your success and can read your face. I really think it's difficult with all these little boxes and the bad audio.
Yes.
Right? Because when you hear a student sigh, right, a good teacher will say, okay, I got to circle back to the, and that's actually where my book, The Dot, came from. Reading my class, I had a group of first graders, and there was a little girl who was drawing, and as I moved toward her, she threw her body on top of her artwork. She would not let me see her art. And I realized, I'm thinking, okay, is she joking, or is she really having a traumatic moment? And she was having a traumatic moment. So I let her be. I went back, and eventually she slowly turned her head to me, and she said, I just can't draw. And that kind of broke my heart. I thought, well, I had a couple of thoughts. One was, well, you haven't hung out with me long enough, right? Because I will get you there.
Yeah.
And then the other thought was, well, who taught her at first grade that she couldn't draw? And I'm thinking clumsy adults may have said something like, oh, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. I can't draw my way out of a paper bag. I've heard all of those. And I think adults need to be very careful.
Yes.
Of what's coming out of their mouth, because kids are hearing it and they're listening, and you're their heroes. And if you say you can't do something or you're terrible at it, it's like, don't say you're terrible at it. Just say, wow, this is new to me. Or just don't say anything at all, right?
Yes.
And just keep going and show kids what resilience looks like. And what bravery looks like. And that's really what all of my work involves, is being brave and looking inside and saying, if it feels good to you, proceed, keep going. And so yeah.
Do you ever get writer's block? Do you ever get where you're not feeling inspired? And how do you break through that?
Yeah, I've had moments. There were stretches in my life where uh, I sort of just came up empty, and uh, but when it was probably 25 years ago, uh, I realized that I'm like, wait a sec, what's the mission of my book? What's the mission of my story? And I thought, in fact, that little girl who said she couldn't draw,
Yes.
that became a mission for me. And I thought, do you know what? I could draw and I like words. I could stick them together. I could make picture books. And what if I could have a reader read that story and say, oh, maybe what if I just started, What if I was, easier on myself
Yes.
and just kept going and didn't stop? I wonder what would happen. So uh, that became, then the floodgates opened for me when I realized the picture books were there to help explain my mission. And so I created the dot and ish and sky color and the North Star
Yeah.
and here, word collector, and it goes on and on.
Question for you. What is your most favorite book of
My most favorite book of
yours?
that I've created? Wow. But I think Ish might be my favorite book because it's so helpful, right? Because people are really hard on themselves and they're like, am I doing it right? And then they stop doing it. And then, of course, you don't get better at the things you quit on, right? So I thought I had been using Ish with kids for when they're drawing. And if they were worried, like, oh, am I drawing a tiger correctly? And one day I just said, what's tiger-ish? And this student said, he smiled and he's like, tiger-ish? I'm like, yeah, it's your version of a tiger. And so I turned it into a book because I thought if it helped this student, it probably would help a lot of other people. And apparently it has because it's now in over 25 languages in 191 countries. So, but I also love my newest book, which is called Our Table, and it comes out in October.
How did you find the style of art using?
That's a good question. Actually, I think my style of art. I love growing up. I loved Disney and I loved comic books. I also loved kind of an odd. Jules Pfeiffer is this amazing writer and illustrator, and he had a comic book. Not comic. It was a series in I don't know how. It was like a comic strip, but in the Sunday newspaper, and it was. Jules Pfeiffer. He actually, speaking of dance. I know that dance is important in your house. He had done this whole series of comic strips about a dancer, and I remember just being sort of fascinated with it. And it was a very loose style, it just kind of flowed out. And if you check out Jules Pfeiffer, folks, I love his artwork. I also love William Steig's work. He Shrek. Of course, there's the animated Shrek, but then there's the book Shrek. And William Steig has some really, really great artwork. So he inspired me. But I had a teacher named Doug Kornfeld, and it was an adult education class in Cambridge, and he really taught me to relax about my artwork. And then I had an Italian friend, mentor, Aldo Servino, who actually he was the one who really helped me break free, because my artwork, if you look at it, is very loose and flowy. And I think I was trying too hard when I went to art school and I was learning how to do it all right in perspective. And I think I was worrying. I was just worrying too much. And my friend Aldo, we were painting murals together for a restaurant in Harvard Square called the Border Cafe. And we were painting these murals, and I had a yardstick, and I was creating a grid on the wall, and Aldo came up to me and he took the yardstick and he snapped it over his knee, and he said, "We won't be needing this anymore." And he tied a pencil to a broom, and he stood back and he started drawing. And then he said, Peter, look at these lines. These lines have movement. And I really got what he was saying, right? They had life. These loose lines had much more life than if I had taken a ruler and made a straight line. And I think that was a lightning bolt for me. It's like, do you know what? Let it flow. Don't worry about getting it just right? It's going to be much more organic and interesting if you just let it loose. And that's probably why I really love improv, anything, whether it's dance or comedy, theater. I also love jazz. I think jazz is something that we can all take a lesson from. I think in education, I think we need to teach in a little bit more of a jazz way, because jazz is like big idea. Let's do a lot with a little, and you can kind of be moved by something, and no two performances are exactly the same, right? You always got a surprise. If you were going to write a picture book and share something that you would love people to think about more often, right? What would it be called if you wrote a picture book? It could be your life philosophy. It could be something you love, like my son. He loves rockets, of course. So it probably would have something to do with rockets. But anyway, what would your book be called?
I think mine would be memories.
Memories? That's a beautiful one, right? There's that. I want to read that right now. Memories.
Not that good at that. I used to always read the dot book, and I would just watch the little guy flying.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. By the way, memories. You just said write a book about memories, and I tell people that one of the reasons to create things, right, whether it's a dance or a film or a poem or a book, is so that we don't forget, right? Because we humans, unfortunately, we forget things, and we forget some of our best ideas. And so when we write it down, even if it's just a little scrap of paper, you will save that idea, and so it doesn't disappear. And so memories, unfortunately, they begin to dim over time. And it's so wonderful when you read your journals from a long time ago and you say, oh yeah, that happened. That's pretty cool. So anyway, very evocative title, Miguel. It's always fun, right? It's always fun to make some art. And I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I usually start with a squiggle or a shape. And then I sort of ask myself, what is that? What is it? Could be a cloud. Could be a cloud, right? Or if we start defining it a little bit, and so I think it's just wonderful to think that just that tiny little mark could make so much emotion. But if we just change it just a little bit, now check out, right? Then we can do and put some shoulders.
I like hair.
You like the hair?
I do.
And maybe this is someone who is a bit of a daydreamer, and maybe those wings will take our character someplace. By the way, if you guys want to draw this character at home, feel free. Remember, just start with a squiggle, and your squiggle can be different, right? And you can always keep adding to it. So anyway, that's how it happens. Much fun. Thank you. Oh my gosh, look at that. Yay. Oh, that makes me happy. How cool is that? That is like some kind of magical telegram. You know? I love it. So, well, thanks everybody for joining us today. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your creativity and for what you're doing to inspire people in your community and around the world, because you're using technology, right, to broadcast out the mission.
Come on, take a look.
Well, thank you for hanging out with me today, inviting me to participate, and thank you to Miguel and Camilla. Thank you. I want to read your books. All right, maybe we can have a book signing at my bookshop, and if you feel like working for an amazing company, Fablevision Studios.
Yeah.
No longer in Boston. We are remote, so we're actually around the world now. So you can join us.
Very special thanks to Peter Reynolds, his team at Fablevision, and the Blue Bunny Bookstore for making this interview possible. Contact New American Youth Ballet for all your dancing needs. We'll see you soon, and tune in again next week on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, Sunday 4 p.m. Bye for now.